Castle slightly subsumed that confidant relationship. So I was hoping that we would see more of Lainey and Beckett doing more girl talk about the men in their lives, or just about their lives more this season.
I think it's coming because, there's still that question of why Kate didn't call Lainey, once she started feeling better after she healed from her gunshot wound. She didn't call Lainey. She called her therapist. She didn't call Castle. And it was just kind of left up in the air. And I think that that's something the audience is also wondering about. And I think that that's a good segue into girl talk, girl time. So we're just trying to figure out how to do it smoothly and fun and sexy. But we're definitely got to have the girl time.
Okay. And also, I'm just wondering about Lainey as well. And I think you talked about this in another interview, but all of the characters have had their solo episodes where the past has come back to haunt them with Ryan and Esposito and, of course, Beckett. But will we see that happening with Lainey, where something that she did in the past or something a friend did in the past will come to her for assistance?
I think so. Andrew mentioned that, and we were talking about what is the reason why Lainey is so closed and so tough on the outside. Like, what has happened to her to make her like that? And I think Andrew is really taking his time because that is a sensitive area. Like, if you don't do it right the first time, you kind of mess it up. So I threw out a couple of things, like maybe her dad wasn't around, or, maybe her mom, something with the family, or maybe it was a past relationship where she did get married and it didn't work out because she maybe caught her husband cheating and that's why she's so closed off. And maybe the ex-husband comes back and tries to get with her and she's like, what are you doing here? And you start to see inside of Lainey's life that way. So there's a couple of things out there that Andrew's playing with, and he does intend on exposing a little bit of Lainey's past.
Okay, that'd be great. And I do like the idea of a ex coming back, or she was formerly married, and we'd all go gasp, oh no. But in another interview, you also mentioned that Andrew typically sits down with each of you to describe what will happen with your character arc. And is there anything else that we haven't discussed that we'll see more of with Lainey? Because I like this season just because we see Lainey's vulnerability during the premiere episode, and then we also see the Lainey stare, and we learn that Lainey's grumpy when she has a double shift. Will we see more of Lainey's personality and development this season?
Oh, yes. We've been doing some really fun things with Lainey on set, and you start to see that she's not all about sass, she's about her business too. And I think in episode 3 this season, it kind of showed that when when Castle was saying, are you sure about that? And Lainey's like, no, I just sit down here and make stuff up all day. Of course I'm sure. Don't play with me. I'm very, very much into my work, and I know what I'm doing down here. You stick to the book writing, I'll stick to the medical stuff.
Yeah, and I did like that, and I love the zings and just the very down-to-earth quality of the character. And we have also Captain Gates, who is also very similar with the take no prisoners, I'm not going to take crap from anyone type of personality. And we've seen her clash with the other team members, but we haven't seen her interact with Lainey so far. Part of me thinks they'll get along, but are there episodes that will see her interact with Captain Gates? And if we don't, what is your take on that and how they might interact or play off each other?
I believe that you will have to see some interaction with this, new captain, and I think that maybe when Beckett and Lainey have their girl time, Beckett mentions this new captain, and talks about her without mentioning her name. This is something that I pitched, and then I get to the office because there's something I have to show the new captain, and it turns out Lainey knows her. Like, she kind of puts the fire out, and everyone starts to come around, I think Lainey would be the person to tie in everything. Like she knows the captain from a long time ago, or you know, I think that would be a great segue into Lainey interacting with her. But so far this season, we haven't shot anything with Lainey and Captain Gates. But I think it would be awesome if Lainey already knew her and was like, "Oh, this lady, she's a little pussycat. She's not as crazy and mean as you guys think she is. You guys are reading her all wrong because she's tough like Lainey." So I think that they get each other. I don't think that there'll be any tug of war with personalities and energies with Lainey and Captain Gates. I think they would get along just great.
Yeah, and I would love to definitely see that. And I love that Castle has these two strong African American female characters because it's very difficult to see that in the media, and it's good for me to show that to my niece and to all of my relatives. But the one thing I do like about Castle is that there is a lot of core diversity. We see Ryan enjoying his Irishness, and we see Esposito. I don't know why I want to keep saying Esposito. We see Esposito enjoying his inner A-Rod, but I like that Castle is reflective of the diversity of Manhattan and reflective of the diversity of the police department in that area as well, and showing different people in different positions of power. So I hope that continues.
I love the diversity on the show. I think it was really a smart move because New York is that. There's so many different cultures and nationalities in New York. You know, that's the melting pot. That's where everybody comes to start a life. And, you know, you get to see that these individuals have all started their lives in doing police work some sort of way. And that's what brought them together. So I love the diversity on the show.
So, yeah, and they're doing a really good job and just also developing the characters as characters. And I'm wondering if you can also speak to the recent changes in Castle. So, the recent episodes have returned to the business as usual, very lighthearted feel. But the final episodes of the last season and of this season were a little bit darker. And although we've had to deal with Beckett's mother's murder, it just became more intense. We see the captain murdered. Ryan continues to struggle with 3XK, and then there's a suspect who kills herself for eternal love. So what do you think about that recent tone, and will the rest of season 4 return to that?
I actually like it. You know, it needed something. If you continue on the same wave, it starts to get a little stale, you know, and I think that the writers and Andrew have done an excellent job in making that turn to make it a little darker. We still have the funny times and moments in Castle in those episodes, but for the most part, it has gotten darker, and I think that it works, and it will continue to be a little dark, but you're still going to have that fun, good time because of Castle, always. But the situations, they've definitely gotten darker, and we have some really great crimes coming up. I know that sounds terrible. We have great crimes coming up, but we do. And they are a little dark, but it makes it so much fun in dissecting and solving the murders and the crimes and getting your answer, and keeps the audience on the edge of their seats while all of this is happening.
And that was definitely also one thing I enjoyed, because during season 1 and partially season 2, Castle started off with the sexy type of crimes where there's a dominatrix or there's a rock star hanging off a balcony. But I've noticed with the last 2 seasons, they've gotten away from the sex crimes, but they're still imaginative and they're still interesting and still make me as a viewer want to watch. So, again, I hope that continues. Let's see.
Right. Well, I would definitely tell Andrew you said that.
Well, as a woman, I like to see less of the sexual crimes and more of the interesting crimes that happen in society. But there are all multiple times. But I love the Houdini crimes. I love the pizza crime. And just this season where they're experimenting more with the directing and just I'm trying to think, it's not the flash shots, but they're just staggered shots that they did. And it's just very nice and very smooth. And I just like how they're slowly experimenting and changing things. And